This is Popple, the next generation business card. With just a tap, your Popple instantly shares your digital business card to both iPhone and Android devices. The best part? The other person doesn't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. To pop your info, tap your Popple to the top of an iPhone, the center of an Android, or just scan your in-app QR code. And just like that, all your info is saved to their phone. More connections, more leads, more sales. That's Popple. Download our free app and get your Popple today.
And with discount code Cody E. Welch, you'll get a 20% off.
What's up, growers? You're listening to the Big Chino Growers Podcast, and I'm your host, Cody. Welcome back to our second podcast, and today we're going to be going over some of the preparations that we do here at Big Chino Farms. We do get our pots prepared, and that way they're ready to go in the springtime, and then when we're ready to drop our seedlings into the pots in June, everything is ready to go. All we do is add our water, and that starts the season off. So let's go ahead and see what the Farmer's Almanac tells us. We do like to use the Farmer's Almanac. We're old school here. There's so much valuable information inside the almanac, I don't see why you wouldn't. Not only that, there's all kinds of cool little articles. There's recipes. There's a lot of just really old historical things that you would never find in any normal books. Not to mention, these things are invaluable when you're actually doing your gardening. They're going to explain to you the differences and the times of when you're planting. You're utilizing the solar and lunar cycles. But one thing that it does mention in February is to clean and oil your garden tools. Hey, that makes sense. We all use our garden tools all year. They're out in the sun and the dust all summer long. We really abuse them, and then we just kind of forget about them and leave them. So this is the time of year that we want to get our tools together, gather them up. We may have to have some repairs done. You may need to replace some. Regardless, we want to try to get stuff prepared because, depending on where you live in Arizona, February isn't much growing going on outdoors. Most of the growing is being done indoors, and we'll discuss that at a later time. So some of you know we do have our working farm. We do have fruit trees, and the Farmer's Almanac tells us that we need to start pruning our trees and vines about mid-month, and we really want to get our trees prepared because what happens is once spring hits, it's off and running. It's too late to start to get out there and start trimming up these trees. So you really want to get everything in order, get your beds prepared around the base of your trees. You really want to make sure that that's all done ahead of time. Not to mention here in Arizona, we do start getting some moisture in February. We can see some moisture, so it's a good time to get this stuff taken care of before we start getting some rain or even snow. And also, too, one thing that we do like to emphasize is if you're using the Farmer's Almanac, really spend some time and look at these dates, because these dates are really important when it discusses the different times of planting certain seeds. So in February, it's telling us beets, broccoli, and cabbage are all good to start indoors. Some of you living down in southern Arizona might be able to start some things outdoors, but up here where we're at in central Arizona, it's still getting down to the 20s at night. So, everything is indoors at this point. In temperate climates, you want to plant your bare root roses and your fruit trees. This is the time you want to start getting your fruit trees in the ground. Here at Big Chino Farms, we're looking at adding in some additional fruit trees this year. So this is a time you want to get down in there. You want to decide, you want to lay out where your trees are going to go. You want to make sure you have plenty of space. Or if you're planting some pretty large trees, are they going to be overgrown in 10 years? You want to really make sure these are planned out. Because, you can't be moving fruit trees around, okay? So keep that in mind. One thing that we want to do during the month of February is test our soil to the correct pH, okay? We don't have a huge problem here at the farm. We like the pH and the water pH as well. We're just right where it's at, but there are places where this really is an issue. pH rises in your soil after an entire season of putting amendments, nutrients, everything that you're putting into that soil is increasing your pH. So this is the time we want to get that pH back down. That's going to allow for the proper bacterial growth to start taking place, okay, among other things. We want to start adding our needed amendments and our organic material and matters. And you want to do that this time of year because it does take time to break down, all right? We want to make sure that everything has broken down properly before we get it into our pots or into our gardens and our beds, right? And then finally, it speaks of doing some of the busy work around the farm or in the house, repairing fences, laying your walkways, building trellises, arbors, and cold frames. And so February is a good month to spend some time pouring over your nursery catalogs. That's what we're starting to do. We're starting to plan out what kind of produce that we're going to be planting this year. We decided that we're going to go ahead and plant more melon. We really had a great harvest this year with our melons, so we're going to do a lot more watermelon, cantaloupes. We'll probably cut back on our squash. And then we're definitely going to do our same variety of carrots. We have a great variety of carrots and beets that we use. And those of you who have seen some of our videos of the juice that we press, is just the colors are beautiful, just beautiful. So going back to as far as the correct pH, soil pH. This is an important thing for outdoor growers to pay attention to during this time of year. Like I said, we want to get it down, and then one of the ways that we do it here at Big Chino Farm is by adding wood ash. And you've seen us in our videos out there adding wood ash to our 50-gallon pots. This contains a significant amount of potassium and calcium. So, this is important because it's a natural substitute for lime, and it's going to help, maintain that proper pH that you need in your soil, okay? We don't, here at the farm, we really don't like adding, lime. It's, stuff like this, we don't really see a need for it at our level, maybe on an industrial level, yeah. But we feel that we've got some pretty good healthy and safe amendments that we like to use. We can continue to use. Manure is probably the best and our favorite way to build back the fertility of our soil. We by adding that organic matter and nutrients such as the nitrogen, the bacteria and fungi they take off. The growth exponentially expands. Once you start adding these to your soils, you can literally see the growth with your naked eye. Once you start getting out there working these soils, you're going to notice just by looking at them, hey, is this healthy? You can tell a dead old soil that needs some help from a very good, healthy, quality soil, and with our new equipment, we do plan on trying to give you some better images of the soil, because I really do think it's important for most new growers to understand that your soil is what you're feeding here, okay? Your plants, yes, of course, we are feeding our plant, but our soil is what we're trying to maintain the health of, okay? This is what comprises the soil food chain, is what is allowing for all of these nutrients, bottle nutrients, whatever amendments you're throwing in. This is all adding to this web. This is why you need a healthy soil in order for this to be absorbed into your plants, okay? Your plants are not going to be sucking up a bunch of poison unless you force it into them, okay? And when you do that, you can tell by the roots. Are your roots brown? Okay, do you have good, healthy, white roots? You can tell by what you're feeding your plants. Okay, so this is an important time of the year to get your pots, your beds, however you're growing. If you're an outdoor grower, you want to really get on it, because before you know it, spring's here and we're already starting to get antsy. We're wanting to get out there and start dropping these our babies, but you got to get these pots prepared. What you're going to see is, and what we've seen over the years is, every year as our soil, as our pots grow, as they age, I like to say they age, as our pots age, you're going to benefit. Okay, every year you're going to see more and more of a benefit, a healthier plant, larger plants. I guarantee you will see larger, healthier plants after your second to third year utilizing that same pot. Okay. And we can discuss on a later episode why indoor growers do not like to reuse their soil. And then there's also the other side of the house. There's folks, that are asking, why are you dumping your soil? If your soil is that destroyed after you're using it, what's going on here? So we'll discuss that in another episode. We really wanted to get into preparations. What we do here is, as far as our farm goes, we do have a second grow, a smaller grow, and we do the same thing. However, our smaller grow, because it's closely situated to homes, we don't use the heavy manures that we use out at the farm. We don't have to worry about upsetting the neighbors out there. In town, we will use a different type of a different feeding regimen for our plants, and those are our 25-gallon pots. So I wanted to discuss some of the disadvantages of using heavy manures. Okay, animal manure is something specifically we really like to use, but there can be some payoffs. But I want to start off with the negative, because there's too many benefits. So some of the negative things of adding heavy animal manures as far as outdoor growers, you can really heavily increase your phosphorus levels, and if you do not have the proper drainage in your pots, you're really going to see a heavy buildup in that phosphorus. Okay. This will cause problems for you once you drop your plants in. You really need to pay attention to this. And this time of year is when you're really getting all this into your soil, because, as I mentioned, it's going to take time for your soil to process this. The decomposition process does take time. So we want to get this stuff going now in February. That way, May, June, when we're ready to plant, our pots are happy, ready to go. They're going to be at the health level that we like them at, right? So, but going into that further, like I said, the different manures that we really like to use here is as some of you saw in our most recent video, we broke out with our composted chicken manure. Chicken manure, very high in nitrogen. We like to use it. One of the reasons that we like to use is because it comes from the chicken coop, which we already have. We already the type of bedding that they use. We feel it's beneficial to the soil. It also, we don't use perlite. The perlite that you do see in these videos is from bag soil that we've used, but we would never. I would never just go buy bag perlite and dump it in my pots. There's no reason, in our opinion. There's plenty of drainage by utilizing our cover crop when we till it in. And once we do a video on that, you'll be able to see how we till it in, and it's very, very effective. We've never had an issue with drainage in our pots by doing this. So, but yeah, we just went through and we started, as some of you know, we started by layering in our wood ash. Okay. So, we discussed the benefits of our wood ash. It contains the amount of potassium and calcium that it's adding. It also adds micronutrients like zinc and copper. Okay, it's a natural substitute for that lime, like we're saying. So, it's one less thing that you're gonna have to go out there and purchase. What we do right now is we're burning a lot of excess. We got some old trees, we got some brush. We're burning that and utilizing that, okay? So that's going to be something that, any of you that are outdoor growers have access to. I highly suggest the ash. So going forward, we did add, on top of that, we added our chicken manure. So we go ahead and really saturate these pots. We go ahead and make a tea out of the chicken manure as well. And we do large quantities. Some of you have seen our 65-gallon container that we use for brewing up teas. This last batch it was a smaller batch with this manure. We did approximately 20 gallons, and what we did was all right, and then continuing on, some of the other things that we'll go out there and do here within the next, we'll probably try to do this right before we get some more rainfall. What we're going to try to do is we're going to throw out another layer of kelp meal. We're going to allow the kelp meal to sit. We like using kelp meal. And then we'll probably go out there and we'll go ahead and just wait. I don't want to throw too much stuff into the pots at this point. There's no reason to just dump all your amendments into your pots at this point, because we're going to still get some more rainfall. What we're trying to do is we want to get all of these minerals, all of the amendments that we've been adding, we want to get those thoroughly down into the bottom of your pot as well. Your roots are going to get down low into those pots, so you want to make sure you got some good, healthy soil down low as well. So this is one of the things that we'll be doing as well. By the time we get into May, we're going to be out there at the farm. We're going to make sure that all of our pots. We'll probably spread some. We'll spread the cover crop like we normally do. Our cover crop that we buy has about 12 different grasses in it, and we like to utilize it. Like I said, we really like to use it once it's dead, because it really does help with the water. What you'll see is that when you're using heavy other fillers, I call them fillers. It's anything that you're adding that's not living soil. Okay, at some point they're going to end up at the bottom of your pot. If you've ever taken apart one of these new felt pots that we all grow in, what you'll find is it's almost like a hard clay. This azomite, a lot of these other stuff that we add in, calcium and others, it's all ending up at the bottom of your pot, right? So our goal is not for it to be one solid concrete slab in the bottom of our pot. Our goal is for our soil to be thoroughly mixed in with all of our minerals and nutrients. That way the plants can uptake it, right? So by having the proper water retention, but not too much. You're still allowing for the proper root ball moisture content in your root ball. We've been asked, and I've heard it, you can't grow in Arizona, it's too hot. Well, the temperature got up to 109 degrees here in Paulden, Arizona, and we didn't see any type of effects on the plant whatsoever. By keeping that root ball moist at all times, you're guaranteeing that plant's going to survive the heat. And this is strain specific what we're talking about. You may find there's strains that just aren't going to tolerate the Arizona heat. This is a given. This is known. We learned a little bit about this when we were growing hemp. When we had heard that some of the growers down south were putting out some pretty hot hemp, and of course you cannot, if you've got a commercial hemp license, you cannot legally harvest it and sell it if it's above the 0.03% THC. So a lot of people took a loss. Okay, but what I'm getting at here is, there's a lot of things that can control the THC levels in these plants. Heat has a big effect on it. And the health of your plant, of course, is going to be determined by how much of an equilibrium you can maintain during the summer, right? So this is why we want to get our pots in healthy order now. We want to make sure that everything is draining good, and you can do that by simply watering your plant and seeing how well it's draining, okay? We want to make sure you got good drainage before we start planting. So, and then as we get into the month of March, we're going to start seeing a lot more moisture. Here in central Arizona, we've been known to get some snow. Last year, we got 3 feet in Prescott. So we do get some heavy snowfall, and that's why I said during this time is when you want to make sure your pots are already prepared, because once that snowfall hits, your pots are just going to be laying there dormant, okay? And it's during this time that process is happening. All of the breakdown of all of the nutrients that we're pumping in, all of the various kinds of beneficial phosphorus, the potassium, and everything else that we're dropping into these pots is going to be valuable for you, but come June, when it's time to grow your plants, okay? Those of you who are doing your autos know that you want to have everything in your soil right away. Those autos take off. You don't have time to incorporate a normal feeding regimen. So you want to have these pots ready to go, right? So, and anyway, we wanted to, just to remind you, we do have some guests coming up in the month of February. We do have one special guest that we'll be bringing on. She is our first model, and we'll get to introduce her, and you'll get to learn a little about her talents. And we also have invited a few other guests on that are in the cannabis community here in Arizona. We also told you about some of the festivals that we're going to be attending, and we hope that we'll be able to interview some pretty cool cats. I know we have a couple other guys that have said they would be definitely interested in joining us on future podcasts. So this is great news for us. This is how it all begins, and this is how it takes off. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Our podcasts are just going to get that much better as time goes on. As you know, this is our second podcast, and we just hope that you continue to listen, and those of you who like what you hear can contribute to our Patreon account as well. So thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you. All right, and